Hey guys, coming at you with another tips and tricks video. This time for a little space sim game called Underspace. So I'm just gonna dive right into it. First thing I'm gonna talk about is storms. I've seen a lot of confusion regarding storms, how to find them, how to destroy them, why you need to find them, etc., etc. I was in that same boat when I first started playing and I'm a little more educated now. So I thought that I would pass that education and knowledge onto you guys or anyone who cares. So first things first, you can tell if a storm is going on in the system that you're in by the big blue mark and the alarms that constantly blare when you exit a space station or planet. The blue dot in the top right corner of the screen will tell you if it's a Cat 1 storm, a Cat 2 storm, or higher. The category obviously means that the higher the category, the more rewards you get, like the more stormeyes you get. Stormeyes are used to buy expensive, powerful equipment and ships. So you will need to close storms at some point if you want to get the best gear possible. The way to find a storm is to go to your galaxy map, which the default hotkey is U. Go to galaxy map, and then you can click on the show storms button and it will show you where the storms are around the galaxy. So as you can see, there is a storm in the system that I am in, the Guria system, however you want to pronounce that. And the easiest way to find a storm, so some storms, like what's a good example? So these systems are affected by storms, but as you can see, it's part of this storm down here. So even though this system is being affected by the storm, it's not where the storm's like epicenter is. Um Now, as far as I'm aware, if you want to close or destroy, whatever you want to call it, if you want to close the rift at the center of a storm, you have to head to the system that has the actual name tag for the storm, because that is where the underspatial rift is that you need to close. So even though these systems are affected by the storm, you would have to go to this system all the way over here to actually close and stop all the storm clouds that are happening. Another tip regarding storms, you can claim a storm on the galaxy map by pressing F, and you can also rescind that claim. What this means is that other storm chasers like AI slash NPC storm chasers, etc., they will actively close storms around the galaxy map if you don't. So if you want to, like, for example, say like, oh man, this category 5 storm over here, I really want to get the rewards from this. I could, if I had visited this system already, I could claim the storm here, and then no other NPC storm chaser would close this rift, and I could eventually go there to get the rewards. So I'm gonna claim this one because I want to showcase closing a rift. Okay, I believe I have covered everything in the galaxy map and claiming storms. So we're gonna head out into space, and I'm gonna head into. Oh, actually, no, one more thing. Storms will always be in a nebula. So, for example, because the category 2 storm in this system, there's a category 2 storm in this system that I have claimed. So we go into the system map, and I know that the storm is in this nebula because there's no other nebula in the system. And as soon as you enter this nebula, the underspatial rift location will automatically be brought up on your HUD, regardless of its distance, as far as I can tell. So I, like, for example, I've gone into a nebula, and the underspatial rift has been 40, 50 kilometers away, and it still puts it on my map. So I'm going to do a little time skip, and then I will showcase closing the storm. As you can see here, I just entered the nebula, and the underspatial rift has already been marked for me. So we are going to head to that underspatial rift. Sometimes when you go to Storm Chase, you will meet AI Storm Chasers that will join you for closing the rift. Unfortunately for me, no AI has decided to join me for this storm. but that's fine. Category 2 storms are pretty easy in my experience, so we shouldn't have much of an issue closing this. Also, you'll see these giant tentacles waving about when a storm is going on in the nebula. I'm like 99% sure that these gigantic tentacles are just like aesthetic. It's just like a background effect that's happening in the game. They're not actually like real, if you know what I'm trying to say. So if you're like me, I was like freaking out. I thought I was gonna be fighting some gigantic space octopus. That is not the case. I don't think the tentacles are actually real. So now you might fight it. You might have to fight a gigantic space octopus later on in the game, but not. Usually, it won't be a gigantic space octopus. Also, since this is actually a cool thing, can I save? I can't. Cool. Let's save real quick. Sometimes while there's a storm going on, jump holes will show up in the nebula. And these unstable jump holes can jump you to any sort of random system. So that's kind of a cool thing that I believe these jump holes will be closed. According to the loaded screen tips, these jump holes will be closed when the storm is destroyed. Now, I'm hoping I can get this to show up on my map. Okay, cool. Yep, unstable jump hole. So we're going to close this rift, and we're going to see if that unstable jump hole is here after the rift has been closed. The unstable jump hole should be gone, but if you're looking to do some like crazy, like into the unknown exploration, you could go to a storm and you could search the nebula for unknown or unstable jump holes, and you could just go through them and see where they take you, which could be an exciting time. Okay, so because this is a Cat 2 storm, there is a ghost ship defending the underspatial rift. So, or some sort of ghost. So we're gonna have to tussle with it. I'm not too concerned. Cat 2 anomalies or Cat 2 storm whites are pretty easy. Very maneuverable, though, it would seem. I'm gonna use my turret. It's a little cheaty, but I don't want to spend, 3 minutes of the video fighting this guy. Okay, so we killed the guardian of the underspatial rift. So now we can select the rift, and we will head in to close the... Alright. And there you go. That is how you end a storm. That simple. As you can see, because it's a category 2 storm, I got 2 stormeyes. And now I have a pretty decent amount of stormeyes. I could go buy like a powerful ship. I could go outfit myself with a bunch of like powerful weapons, stuff like that. So I'm gonna head back to the station, and then I will move on to the next tips and tricks section. Oh, and I did check. It does appear that the unstable jump hole did disappear. And actually, while I am on the subject, what I just activated is my ship's abyssdrive, and you can see if your abyssdrive is basically like a it's like a souped up version of your cruise, of like your high engines, which is like cruise speed at 300. And the abyssdrive lets you go even faster at 900. Now, you'll be able to tell if you can abyssdrive with this little icon. This little icon right here. If that icon is there, that means you can activate your abyssdrive. If the icon is not there, waypoint reached, that means you cannot abyssdrive. So, if you're trying to speed up your travel time, just always be aware of this icon down here. If it is there, that means you can activate your abyssdrive and go even faster. If it's not there, it means you're too close to a station or like a jump hole or something. Okay, we are back on the station. Next up, what I want to talk about is money making method. Obviously, as a freelancer slash star chaser who has to work to make a living and has to upgrade their ship with their earnings, making money in this game is important, and it's one of the core aspects and the core gameplay loops of this game. There are a couple ways to make money. Can either be a trader, and you can go to the commodity trader and you can say, hey, wow, look at this Arium. This Arium sells on this planet here for, 1500 or 1200. Or wow, this Vamium sells for 1 grand here, etc., etc. One thing to remember, if a location is experiencing a storm, they buy everything for double. Well, that's not entirely true. They buy commodities for double the price. So if Axel was experiencing a storm, or maybe they are, let's check. They are not. But if they were, the price should be increased. I believe it's double. It is definitely. It's obviously more. Is what I'm trying to say. So if you want to make the most bang for your buck, always sell your commodities when there is a storm going on. Um, Another thing to be aware of is that when you go to buy something, if there is a storm going on, the purchase price of buying something will also be double. So, for example, this advanced night shield is 90,000 credits. If a storm was going on, this would be 180,000 credits. So, just be aware that you might want to close the storm or destroy the storm before you go on a shopping spree, because if you do a shopping spree during a storm, you're going to be spending twice as many credits on whatever you need. So just be aware of that. Obviously, you can go to the bar and you can choose mission. I believe mission payouts are also doubled when you are when a storm is ongoing. I also believe the developers put in a system where the payouts for missions are increased depending on your reputation with the quest, the like the mission giver. So for this example, it's Hescarl and Industrial, which I am quite sorry. Elite missions pay more. I mistook the green for reputation. But I am neutral with these guys, which is why these like difficulty 6 missions are only paying like 11 grand. For the Valdland Police, I am max reputation with them, and they usually pay more for their contracts. You can also increase your mission payout and your skills. So in the skills section, you can go down here and you can unlock the mission payout, and this will increase how much money you get for missions. You can increase your cargo, but I, this can be a really good if you want to go full trader. If you dump every single skill point you get into this, then it's pretty strong because you can get at this point I could have an extra almost 100 cargo at this point at level 31. So going into the skill, going like just dumping everything into the skill can be very good, but you will be lacking in some combat areas. Like your energy recharge will be kind of low. Your shield recharge may not be as high as you want it to be, but you will be filthy rich. So up to you. Now, the final way to make money, and I am guilty. I am guilty of doing this, but I do find it kind of like exploitative. I don't know if the developer intended for this to be a thing. But what you can do is you can go to a merchant and you can go to like this shield, for example. This shield is sold in multiple places. So I'll unequip my shield. I will buy this shield, and then when a storm hits, so see this sells. It sells for the same price that you bought it at. When a storm hits and the price for this shield doubles to 180,000, you can sell this shield back to the vendor for 180,000. So it's unfortunate, but basically, if you want to exploit, I, I'm calling it an exploit because it's way too stupid. Um, Basically, like I could buy like, so for example, I have 9 million credits. I could buy like 100 of these if my math's right. I could buy 100 of these shields, and I could, when a storm hits, I could sell them back and double my money for doing nothing. And like you don't need cargo space for equipment. Like your cargo space is irrelevant for buying equipment. So I could fill my entire I could just endlessly buy these shields until I'm out of money, wait for a storm to hit, and then sell them back to the vendor for double the money and make, I would have like 20 million or 18 million, whatever, depending on how much money I spend. So that is one way you can make money. It feels so cheaty, and I feel it takes away from the game a lot because there's no point in being a trader. There's no point in being a bounty hunter. There's no point in doing all of these like cool free roam, like these missions or whatever. All you have to do is just play the campaign for a little bit until you get some initial funding, and then you just buy some shields and sell them back when a storm hits. And boom, you're a millionaire. So it's there. I'm telling you, it's there. I would recommend, if I could go back. I did some trading myself just to experience the freelancer trading grind and some missions, but I don't recommend it if you're looking for the full freelancer slash underspace experience. But as a tips and tricks video, it is a tip, and it is a trick, whatever you want to call it. So there it is. Next up, I'm going to talk about this right here, which is called a heavy weapon. On my ship, I have an arc cannon, and the way heavy weapons work is, I don't believe this is explained in the tutorial. Okay, it is. Here. So I would definitely, if you're ever confused about a certain aspect of the game, check out the tutorials. They're actually pretty good. Most of the stuff that I explained in the storms can be found here. Most of it. Um, and so for advanced combat, heavy equipment is what I just showed you. It's an arc cannon. If you deal or take damage, it will charge up a little. In the bottom left hand corner will be like a little box. And as you deal damage, it will charge up that box for you to use your heavy equipment. Alright, so I'm gonna kill these little modders real quick. Okay. This is my arc cannon. It's already charged. I'll press T. That fires it. I believe it has a finite range. I don't believe that range is listed, but it's definitely not infinite range. No, it looks like it because I've shot at targets from far away and it does no damage. So either I must have missed, or it can only be used within a certain distance. So just be aware. Now, you see this little box right here? As you deal damage or take damage, this box will fill up. And when it fills up, you will then be able to fire your arc cannon again. Heavy equipment doesn't really have much use in a dogfight, in my opinion. But there are plenty of missions that require you to destroy structures, or there are campaign missions that require you to deal lots of damage to some sort of stationary target. So heavy equipment, while not used all the time, definitely has its place in combat, and I would recommend getting a heavy equipment. You are rewarded one for a campaign mission, but they're also very cheap. And there are ships called bombers, and bombers can equip two heavy equipments. So you can have two arc cannons for some serious like damage dealing to stationary targets. You can also increase the rate at which your heavy weapons charge by unlocking this heavy charge rate skill. It's only 1% per point though, so it's definitely like a niche skill in my opinion. I would only take this if you want to use a bomber and you want to make heavy weapons like a core component of your combat. Like maybe you want to do mission, maybe you want to put points into mission payout and points into heavy charge rate, and you want to buy a bomber, and the only missions you do are missions that go and destroy structures, for example. Um that would work pretty well because for most structure missions, all you have to do is destroy the structure. You don't actually have to kill the fighters. So if you want to cruise in there in your bomber, fire both of your heavy weapons, destroy the structures, and get the hell out of there, that's a solid tactic and probably a good way to make some money because structure missions, from my experience, pay reasonably well. Okay, moving on from heavy weapons, let's talk about mining. I have done a little bit of mining. So my ship that I'm currently in, let's see here. My ship that I'm currently in has a 1.2 chance, or increased salvage/mining chance. I have 10 points in the salvage skill, which gives another 1.4. So my total, as you can see here, is 1.6. There are also weapons you can buy called scrubbers. They're called scrubber weapons that you can buy at junk tech bases, and those also increase your salvage mining chance. So at one point I had this freighter. I had the 10 points in salvage mining chance. All of my weapons were scrubbers to increase my salvage mining chance even more. And then I bought a mining laser and I went to go mine. And I gotta say, I'm not impressed. I don't think mining is very lucrative. I think the problem with mining is, and not even like lucrative in comparison to the money like exploit that I was talking about. Mining is in my opinion, your best bet for making money is if with no skill investment, the best money you can make is trading with a freighter. Because unlike if you guys have played freelancer, you know that trade routes in freelancer are lucrative, but usually they're very long trade routes if you want to make a lot of money. That's not so much the case in Underspace. In Underspace, you can make a lot of money for flying a very short distance. So, for example, this right here, uh, yeah. So right here, I can buy Vamium for 112 credits per unit, and it sells on Planet Valdric for 841. So that's around 730 credits per unit of profit. And Planet Valdric is literally one system away from me. So I can travel a system away from me and make whatever 150 times 730 is. And there's even better trade routes than that. Like, so for example, on Planet Valdric, you can buy starship cores for 30 credits. And so on Planet Valdric, you can buy starship cores for 30 credits, and then literally just two trade lanes away at Brave and Star Spire, you can sell starship cores for 359 credits. So, 320 profit or jumping two trade lanes. And then on your way back at Battleship Caladan, you can buy firearms for 53 credits, and you can sell those at Agonite Station for 340. So these little, like, and remember, prices and sell prices are doubled when a storm hits. So it might not sound like much. Oh, you're only making 300 profit. But you got to remember, if a storm is in the system, these starship cores will you buy them for 60, and then you would sell them for 700. So trading is extremely lucrative. Extremely lucrative. Um which is why I think mining is so bad, is because mining takes a ton of time. You have to fly to the asteroid field, and then you have to sit there and you have to wait for the asteroids to like spawn in, because um you have to hit the asteroid with your mining laser to get the materials. And the asteroid field, like the little mini asteroids that show up for you to hit with your mining laser, they're not like swarming around you. They spawn like every few seconds, and you have to constantly be orbiting, like you have to constantly be looking around the asteroid field for these little asteroids to show up for you to mine them. And it just takes too long, in my opinion. Um, Also, the mining drone, you can buy a drone to mine for you, which is obviously better than doing the mining yourself, because you can just sit there, or you can mine while your drone mines. The issue is that if you the mining drone, as far as I can tell, when I was using mine, the mining drone does not benefit from your mining chance. So even though you might have double the chance, so every time you mine an asteroid, you might get two materials compared to the mining drone's one. So basically, why would you invest in the mining skill if it's not going to affect your drone as well? Now, if your mining skill affected the drone, I would probably mining would definitely be worth it. I still think trading would probably be better, but I think mining would definitely give it a run for its money, because you could buy a very good mining drone, because some of the best mining drones can mine three materials per like rock. So if you juiced your mining skill up to like, 3 or 4 times or something crazy, you would be getting, 6 or like 9 materials per rock without having to actively mine anything. And you could be actively mining at the same time yourself. So and one of the things is that you might say to yourself, "Oh, well, Bombchus, you've got all these skill points. What if you just put all of them into mining? Wouldn't that make mining like actually worth it?" True, but at the same time, the argument could be made that I could put all of those skill points into maxing my cargo, and then trading would be even better. So, I think it's a double-edged sword. Or like that argument can be made both ways. And I think if the developer ever makes it so that salvaging affects your drone as well, then I think mining, I would definitely check it out. Um, Also, mining is it's kind of boring, obviously, because you're sitting in an asteroid field for maybe like 10 to 15 minutes, depending on your mining skill, just filling up your cargo bay, and it can be a little snooze fest. I won't lie to you. Also, actually, that's where my mining segment's been going on for way too long. We've been talking about mining for like fucking 7 minutes now. All right, we're done. We're done. Okay, I have two more things I want to talk. The video is already obnoxiously long, so I'm only gonna step on two more things, or step on, but I'm only gonna mention two more things, and then I'm gonna call it on the video. We're gonna talk about the campaign and trains. The campaign can be a little confusing sometimes because it doesn't exactly tell you where to go, or if you're at a point where you can do some missions or not. Uh, you don't always know if you're supposed to be going to a certain area, or if you're supposed to be doing a mission to up your overall value to get the next mission pop up. If you find yourself in the situation where you don't know where to go, um, I, there's so many instances where it could happen that I would just recommend making a Steam discussion post on the discussion board, because the developer there is very active, and I'm sure he'll be glad to answer any questions. Just make sure you give him details of like what quest you're on, maybe screenshots of the quest, or the quest you just finished, etc., etc. He has helped me like 2 or 3 times when I thought I was stuck in the campaign or it was a bug. When it wasn't a bug, I just didn't know where I was supposed to be going. And then trains, I will touch on when I get to the location that I need to. I will see you guys in a bit. One quick thing to add. Every system, I believe it's every system, should have somewhere in like an asteroid field or a nebula. Every system has one of these stations where it's either a neutral station that's like a smuggler ring, or it's a station that's owned by pirates. So if you want to be on the other side of the law in this game, there are options for you where you can dock and refit and rearm. Um, I will say the game is probably a little harder playing this way, but you can play this way. So just a little FYI. Okay, I have landed on Spolin Train Yard. Now, trains are a fast travel system that was not present in Freelancer, where you can pay to be transported like across the galaxy. So some of these train routes go from this system all the way over here. So, in that, um, in these train yards, most train yards will either be called like it'll have a name and then like depot, or it'll be like name train yard. Some minor stations have trains, but they don't have like a large variety of options on where you can go. One thing to note about train yards and trains in general is that not all trains are round trips. So some trains will say like, "Oh, we can take you here," but when you land, when the train drops you off at that location, you will not be able to take a train back. So if you want to experiment by like by fast traveling with a train to a brand new system, I would recommend saving beforehand because you might not be able to take a train back from wherever you land. I don't believe the game might autosave before you take a train. Um, but I'm always more cautious. Better safe than sorry. So I always manually save before I take a train. But you can take trains to all sorts of places. Um, and yeah. Oh my god, I forgot about this. You can. There are locations in the galaxy where you can respec your skill points. The developer told me this in a Steam discussion post. I'll have that Steam discussion post in the description so you can read it for yourself on where those locations are. So yeah. And so after a mind-numbingly 30-minute long video, I believe that's all the tips and tricks I can come up with. There are probably things I've missed, of course, but I think that the tutorials here are pretty good. The developer has stated that he plans on making these tutorials better as time goes on. So expect to see in coming updates that these will be expanded or made more robust so that they cover more topics. Um, Feel free to make posts on the Reddit or the Steam discussion board. The people and the developer and the community are pretty open to answering questions and helping out. And I think that's all I got. So once again, thanks for stopping by.